Most of the big names at the 2022 Western and Southern Open have been ousted from the tournament, but I'm honestly not too mad about it. Let's discuss. Yes, so the Western and Southern Open is well underway, and it hasn't been too kind to tennis's biggest names. From Serena, Venus, Naomi, Coco, Rafa, and now various other women's seeds, the star power is lacking a little bit, but there's still been some phenomenal tennis being played nonetheless. Now, the reason why I said I'm not that upset about this in the intro is basically out of bitterness. So to tell y'all a quick story, I applied to be a part of the media and press for the Western and Southern Open about a month or so ago, and I honestly didn't think that I'd be approved, especially since that I was denied for the City Open 500 tournament. Long story short, I forgot to check my business email, and when I logged back into it this past Sunday, I saw that I was in fact approved, but by that point it was too late to make the trip to Cincinnati. I was definitely disappointed I couldn't make it, and I am a little bit salty still. However, I did learn a valuable lesson in being prepared and on your stuff. I do want to thank the tournament though for even giving me the opportunity, and I hope to be there next year. On the bright side, I will be at the US Open in a couple weeks, so all isn't totally lost. Now, focusing on the tennis action here in Cincy, the top two women's seeds have been bounced from the tournament as Iga Swiatek and Anett Kontaveit fell in round 3. Kontaveit's loss wasn't surprising at all because she's been struggling for a while with form. Also, Shuai Zhang has been playing some great tennis lately, beating Naomi Osaka en route to the quarterfinals. Focusing on Swiatek, she suffered yet another third round exit, losing to Madison Keys 6-3, 6-4. Keys is a very talented player and actually won this tournament back in 2019. However, this result was still pretty surprising because first Swiatek played pretty solid in her opening round match against Sloane Stephens, who she defeated in straight sets. And then this matchup seemed to totally favor the world number 1, especially after she clobbered Keys 1 in love at Indian Wells a few months ago. In that match, Keys gifted her opponents a bunch of errors while Swiatek was simply steady and in control. The tables turned this time around as it was Keys being the steadier of the two, while Iga made a bunch of uncharacteristic unforced errors. The main issue for Swiatek in this match was ironically her forehand. It's kind of funny because for most of 2022, Iga's forehand has been the biggest weapon on the women's tour, but right now it's one of her biggest liabilities out there on court. She just seems extremely tentative on that wing and doesn't have the same confidence and conviction that we saw from her during the streak. A lot of the time she pulled up on that shot instead of staying down and hitting out and through it. Another big issue for the Polish woman was her return, which also plagued her last week against Beatrice Haddad-Maia in Toronto. Giving Madison her credit, she did serve a lot better today, plus that kick serve bounced higher and out of Swiatek's strike zone due to the more humid conditions in Cincinnati compared to the slower nighttime conditions in Indian Wells. The conditions also played a role in terms of the baseline exchanges, as this time around Keys' big ball striking game was more favored in the faster conditions. Madison also did well to punish Iga's weaker serves and truly attack those second serves, which more and more opponents have been doing as of late. It looked like Keys would bagel the world number 1, being up 5-love 40-15 in that second set. However, Iga did save those 2 match points and rose her level of play, while Keys, feeling the pressure, dipped. She conceded her double break advantage, and at that point I thought it was over for her, but she did manage to reel it back in towards the end and sealed victory on her 5th match point. This is Maddie's first ever win over world number 1, and it's truly nice to see her back playing high level tennis, especially after that rough season she had last year. Now, briefly talking about Iga, the loss is definitely a bit concerning regarding her US Open prospects. She looks a lot more vulnerable and not the favorite in my eyes to take the title. I do think that there is some hope for her as she has about 10 more days or so to find her game and work out those kinks. Also, she looked somewhat solid in those final 4 or 5 games against Keys, and the forehand started forehanding a little bit more. I said this previously, but during her streak, Swiatek was playing primarily off of confidence and instinct, so it's probably going to take her a minute to regain that mojo. She really didn't seem to be that emotionally involved in this match either, not a lot of jostas or signs of emotions, which could be signs of her being a little bit mentally fatigued too. Iga did say after the match that she had a lot of trouble controlling the balls, and said the day prior that she isn't a fan of the balls in the US Open Series events because, according to her, they're really light and fly a lot more. The US Open ball is different, so maybe a different ball will heed different results for the world number one. Focusing on Cincinnati, Keys next plays Elena Ravacana, who's been cruising through the tournament, beating Muguruza and now Risk in straight sets. I'm glad to see that she's been playing well recently and has seemingly avoided that first-time slam winner slump. Speaking of which, Emma Raducanu has been sent home after falling to 7th seed Jessica Pegula 7-5, 6-3. Raducanu played a solid match here, and she actually has a similar game style to Pegula in that they're both solid in pretty much every area. However, Pegula was more solid and was able to take advantage of Emma's weaker replies. I feel like Pegula is very underrated because she's been extremely consistent all season, this being her 4th WTA 1000 quarterfinal in 2022 alone. She deserves her top 10 spot, honestly top 5 too, seeing as some of the women inside the top 5 have no business being there. Raducanu did have a good run here as she bageled a few mamas and former champions here in Serena and Azarenka. While those two didn't play well in those matches, Emma did, and she'll definitely take some positives from this week going into Flushing. Now, she still hasn't won 3 straight matches in a row since winning the US Open last year, but that streak is bound to be broken hopefully soon. Up next for Pegula is Caroline Garcia, who continues her superb summer after taking out Sakari and now Elisa Mertens here. Meanwhile, Petra Kvitova played a phenomenal match today, giving Ons Jabeur a breadstick and bagel during their 3-setter. She was on fire, just painting every line it seemed like. She'll be a favorite in her quarterfinal match with Ajla Tomljanovic. Then our final women's quarterfinal matchup is between Shuai Zhang and Aryna Sabalenka. Sabalenka had the craziest win of the tournament, beating Shelby Rogers 6-4, 6-7, 6-4 in a 3.5-hour battle. Sabalenka was leading 6-4, 5-2, but got a bit tight in the end and couldn't close. Full credit to her for regrouping to take the decider. Transitioning to the men's draw, the biggest name, Rafael Nadal of course, fell to a red-hot Borna Coric in the second round. The Croatian qualifier backed up his win over the second seed, taking out another Spaniard, Roberto Bautista Agut 6-2, 6-3. I'm glad that Coric is finally getting these big results as he's been plagued by unlucky injuries for a while. In the quarterfinals, Borna meets Felix Auger Aliassime, who pulled off an incredible comeback victory over Jannik Sinner. Felix was outplayed by the 7th seed for much of the match and faced 2 match points down to 5-6, 15-40. Felix stepped up with some big man tennis to save those 2 match points and didn't look back at all, only dropping 1 more game to the Italian the remainder of the match. Meanwhile, Cam Norrie and Carlos Alcaraz square off after getting comprehensive straight set victories over Ben Shelton and Marin Cilic respectively. Shelton, by the way, is the reigning NCAA singles champion from Florida, who picked up his first ever top 5 win over Casper Ruud in round 2. Shelton hasn't yet revealed whether he'll go pro or play another year at Florida, but with his performance this summer, signing up full-time for the ATP wouldn't be a bad idea at all. American John Isner is still alive after his 3rd consecutive 3-set victory this tournament. He faces Stefanos Tsitsipas, who dominated Diego Schwartzman 6-3, 6-3. Then lastly, world number 1 Daniil Medvedev has moved past his first few opening tests, most recently beating Denis Shapovalov 7-5, 7-5. Medi's path to the title won't get any easier as he squares off against Taylor Fritz next, who picked up an excellent 3-set win over another Russian, Andrei Rublev. This was probably the best match of the day as these two gave us some incredible baseline exchanges and were both very solid on serve. Rublev did blow an opportunity to take this match, squandering 3 breakpoint chances in the decider, all of which were on his racket to be honest. This is Fritz's 3rd top 10 win of the season and 3rd straight victory over Rublev in a Masters 1000 event. I think Taylor solidified himself as the heads and shoulders best American male player. He's been very consistent almost all season and is a constant fixture in these bigger tournaments, something that's been lacking amongst the US men for a while. Anyways, that's all I have for y'all in this video, and let me know what you think about Swiatek's loss and whether you feel like it's cause for concern for her heading into New York. Also, feel free to give your picks of who you think will make the semifinals in Cincy in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post new content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.